In order to understand how the jaw gets bigger when chewing hard foods, it's important to understand what Wolff's Law is and how it applies to your jaw when chewing hard foods. There are two types. Wolff's Law can be described through bone remodeling versus bone modeling. Bone remodeling is specifically when bones get denser and stronger under load, and it basically just reinforces pre-existing bone. This is present. Bone remodeling is present throughout all ages. Bone modeling, on the other hand, is when new bone is added on top of old bone, essentially via stress, pretty much. However, it's important to note that bone modeling happens throughout all ages of life. However, the ratio essentially flips when you're an adult. To understand, more specifically, when you're a kid, most of the load is actually going to be bone modeling, and then once you physically mature over time and you stop growing, most of Wolff's Law is going to be bone remodeling. This relationship is very important to understand, and this is specifically why understanding this relationship is important, because this directly impacts the jaw and how it grows and matures over time, and how mastostory stress essentially makes it actually get physically bigger when you're a kid and not an adult. The most obvious example of Wolff's Law is essentially your bones getting thicker and more dense when under load.
Your bones aren't fragile. They learn how to get harder. Every time your foot slams into the ground, every kick crashes into something tougher than flesh. There's a sound you can't hear. Tiny fractures. Micro cracks too small to feel, but loud enough for your body to notice. Pain follows, a deep, burning pulse inside the bone, and your body reads it as a warning. This is Wolff's Law. When bones face repeated stress, they don't break down. They adapt. Those micro cracks are rebuilt with denser calcium, changing the structure, making it thicker, stronger, reinforced from the inside like concrete. That's why Muay Thai fighters can kick trees, and over time, their bones don't shatter. They turn into weapons. The human body doesn't just survive pressure, it uses it to become stronger. Your bones aren't fragile.
No one's gonna deny you on that fact. It's very well documented and well measured, and we've known this for 100 years. However, there's another aspect of Wolff's Law that is not talked about when understanding how the jaw gets bigger when chewing hard foods. Bone modeling is specifically the bone's response to stress. Basically, it goes through this process, which basically is just saying that certain osteocytes detect it, and then it starts a chain reaction of building new bone, basically. This is a bunch of fancy science language, but it's a very well-known aspect. It's an aspect of Wolff's Law, essentially. However, the main point of this is that when you age, you have an equal amount of bone remodeling and bone modeling, but when you're young, a lot more bone modeling happens rather than remodeling. Hold up, where is it? Yeah, it says advancing age is associated with a reduction of volume of the bone reabsorbed by each multicellular unit, and even a greater reduction in the volume of bone formed by each BMU. This is basically just saying bone modeling happens less as you age, but it still happens, it just happens at a less prominent rate. Visual will be shown next.